Jeff Traylor and the job that he's done at UTSA for not just the football program, but for the university itself, having that guy as your football coach. How's that been how do you think for students and the university itself, having that guy as the head man?
It's been a ride, really. I mean, I've been covering the program since the inception, and it's gone through some up and downs, and this is definitely, I mean, if you could call a young program like TSA the golden era, I think they've been living through it. For us that cover it, for the fans, for everybody really involved, for the administration, it's really what they envisioned, right? When they started up this football program. I think Jeff has really done a great job of getting the community involved, the alum base involved, really show everybody what this university can do when the resources are allocated, right? He just has a great understanding of San Antonio. It's a very, I mean, unique city town, right? It's a city with a town feel. He's really bought into it. I think people have bought into him, and it's been a wild ride. It's been great.
Yeah. On top of that, with Jeff Traylor, the thing with him is people have had to come after him over the last couple of years to be coach, to leave there and coach other places, maybe bigger schools, maybe bigger programs, more money. But he's kind of stuck with San Antonio. There's something about building your own. It really is, like you said, building your own program. And he hasn't been quick to say, no, I think I'm going to take an interview here because I want to move along. But eventually, it's just the way it is. Coaches have to move on. Coaches have to, they want to be at big time programs. But I would say this, for what he's done there and hadn't split the scene, that's been incredible too for me, because that guy's had an opportunity to get out of there.
Yeah, no, and he definitely has. We've known in interviews with Texas Tech, with Houston last year, and he's come out and said he's pretty honest about it, that there's been more money involved. There's been better opportunities these last couple of years. It's just the life of a G5 program, right? If you win a lot, you're more than likely your coach's going to get poached. It's the reality of life. I don't think. I mean, the sensible fan knows that. I don't know if most of the fans know that, but it's just the fact of life, right? When you cover a smaller program, that's going to happen. He's been open about it. He's turned Tech down. Supposedly he turned Houston down as well, to stay at UTSA. But like you said, how much longer is he going to do that? It's to be decided, but it's definitely something to monitor. Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, Javi, before we get into tomorrow's game, what the hell happened to UTSA last weekend? I'm sorry if it's a sore subject. You're probably tired of talking about it at this point, but UTSA was 5-0 against Texas State before last weekend, and that was kind of a close to a pick'em line, and 49-10 was the final score. I mean, I went back and rewatched that game. It just looked like one of those days for UTSA. What went wrong, and do you think 1 week's time is enough to fix some of the things that went wrong for the Roadrunners last weekend?
Yeah, I know. It was definitely a shocker. I mean, I don't think anybody would have been surprised that if UTSA lost. It was bound to happen eventually, right? But I think the manner in which they lost was definitely surprising. I think we saw the result of the senior leadership graduating, right? Frank Harris is not there anymore. Rashard Wisdom isn't there anymore. Josh Cephas isn't there anymore. They're all in the NFL right now. So I think we saw the effects of that, of the leadership that this program has had for the last 3-4 years, not being there anymore, coupled with the team being new in a lot of spots, offensive line, quarterback, like I mentioned, wide receiver. It all kind of just steamrolled. And then you talk about a program like Texas State, who brought everybody back, who brought the Sun Belt Player of the Year back as well. Jeff tried to allude to it all week that, hey guys, like, it's not going to be like the other times. It's going to be different, and boy was it different. But I don't think anybody expected for it to go that way. I think Jeff was surprised as well that it was that lopsided. Can they bounce back? Yes. Unfortunately for them, the bounce back is against the number 2 team in the country, so that's a little tough. So even if they bounce back, it probably won't be enough. But it's a team that will be fine as the year progresses, as they get to know each other, as they grow up. But it's tough that they had to face 2 really good teams back to back.
When I look at the team, when I look at them especially on the defensive side, it's a group with not a lot of experience, but it's also a group that could get into games where they get physically. It's a mismatch. I look at that defensive line, and they've got okay players, but they're squatty bodies. I mean, we're talking about 6'1" guy. I mean, they got a 6'6" will linebacker who's the tallest thing on the field, but you look at their defensive ends, guys 6'1", they have a guy that's 300 pounds, but when you get to the defensive ends that are weighing 250, 260. That's hard when you're going against teams like Texas. That's hard going against a lot of teams when you're in the 240s, 250s, and you've got girth, but you don't have any length. You can't get your arms out there against some of these big tackles. And physically, I think that's where the mismatch comes in. It's not a tall team. It's a squatty team that has a couple big bodies, but they don't have a lot of length.
Yeah, no, I think you're right. They say they're an odd man front, but I think this year we've seen more of almost like a 4-2-5 look.
Sure.
That's been a little different. I think that's just to the personnel, like you said, and it's something that they're working on. I think it will work in the American once they get to those type of teams. They might struggle with teams like Memphis and Tulane, right? Once we get there, but that's why it's going to be a maturation process really for these first 4 or 5 games. Once we get into conference play, can they get up to speed? Can they be a good run stopping team like they said they were going to be? But because they do not have the athleticism like they had in the past.
Javi Cardenas from birdsup.com joining us this morning on Bucky and BK. Javi, what about the quarterback situation, right? Both quarterbacks played in that loss to Texas State. I think Jeff Traylor came out earlier this week and said Owen McCown is going to start against Texas. Do you think we see both QBs play tomorrow? Is it in a perfect world McCown's the guy for all 4 quarters? What do you think Texas can expect defensively against this UTSA offense?
If I had to guess, I think you're going to see both of them. Just because the game will probably be out of hand by the second half. So you will probably see both quarterbacks. For the season, though, I think Owen will be the guy. He just has the tools. He has what is needed for this team to succeed. Is just like we mentioned. He's still learning the offense, making that team his own. So it's growing pains, unfortunately, for the Roadrunners right now. But he definitely, I think, by the end of the year, when you guys look back at the stats, he will be the guy with the most snaps, with the most touchdowns. He's pretty good on the accuracy front, even though he didn't show that last week. He's a pretty accurate quarterback. He tends to throw an interception here and there, but he's pretty cautious with it. I wouldn't say he's a gunslinger by any means, and he has wheels. He can run. Again, you didn't see that last week, but he's definitely a guy that can get out of the pocket and extend some plays.
Javi, what about your tight end? There's a guy who's looks like he's been in your conference for at least 8 years. He's been there. That guy is all around. He is an all around good player. He's a good athlete. He's a big dude. He shows up on the film as a big man with really nice hands and the ability to catch and run. Now, there's a guy that looks like he can play not only tight end, but there's your defensive end right there. That is a big dude, and he's quite an athlete too.
Yeah, and funny you say that because he had a chance to go into the NFL, but they essentially told him either you gain some more weight and become an offensive lineman, or you lose some weight and become a slimmer tight end.
Mm-hmm.
So he decided to come back and really hone in on the tight end side of things.
So has he lost weight? So has he lost weight? Was he closer to 280 than he is? Is he in the 260s now?
Correct. So he lost 25 pounds over the offseason. They're never really accurate on the weight, but you're probably right. He was probably in the 280s if I had to guess.
Yeah.
And he's probably in the 260, 265 range right now if I had to guess. So he lost some weight. They do need to get him more involved. And that's part of the whole, getting the offense where it needs to be part. Because he's a weapon. He's caught numerous big passes for the Roadrunners over his tenure. So he's a weapon. They just need to get him more involved. I think he needs to put up that good film to go into the NFL. And you will see them get him more involved as the year goes on.
Yeah, a couple more for you, Javi. What does UTSA do super well? Like, what challenges can they present Texas tomorrow?
On the defensive side, they have had pretty good spells in stopping good running backs. They even though you didn't see it a lot last week, they did hold their star running back to a pretty modest day. They still let up a lot of rushing yards, but that's just due to it being a blowout essentially. But they're pretty good at stopping the runs, and like Bucky mentioned, they're not the longest group, but they're pretty stout and they're pretty good at stopping the run. So they'll give some fits there. On the offensive side, they pride themselves in running the ball. You have not seen that yet, but it's something that they're going to try to do, if I had to guess. It's something that they have not done yet. That's something that Jeff Traylor prides himself on, is running the ball. They have 3 pretty capable running backs. They just haven't done it yet. So I could see a considered effort from Jeff Traylor to want to run the ball. Again, unfortunately, you have to do that against the number 2 team in the country. So I don't know how good that's going to go. But yeah, that's something definitely that they pride themselves on.
Yeah, and Coach Traylor said the Texans will have to do a lot of giving the Roadrunners an opportunity to win this game. Texas will have to give them the ball and do some things. And I still, you still got a conference that you guys have to play in. I sometimes I don't like these games. I don't like them for either team because I don't want to see a bunch of kids get carted off the field where your season gets into jeopardy in your conference, or Texas loses some guys to some stuff that happens. But I've got a feeling that Coach Traylor will be playing a lot of guys and not waiting till if it's a blowout to come. I think there'll be a lot of guys in and out of the games early that may have not even played in the first game against Texas State. You may see kids that all of a sudden, why is that guy playing so soon? It's not a blowout. Why is he in the game? But you have to preserve some of your players for conference play when there's a game that when your head coach is saying that the other team has to give you some opportunities. He understands what the game is all about. I mean, that guy's no fool. He's been around football. He understands when there's a mismatch, and he can't afford to get his guys hurt either.
No, I think you're 100% right. You'll see some. They pride themselves in their rotation, so regardless, you would see it. But I think you're going to see a lot of rotation on offensive line, defensive line, because you're right. The season's not going to be won or lost tomorrow, right? For the Roadrunners. So, can they get through this game? Put up a good, respectable showing against a big crowd in a big environment, and give themselves confidence heading into the latter part of the year. So I think you're 100% on that.
Javi, last thing for me, we've got conference realignment rumors. The Pac-12 reportedly added a few schools yesterday, and they're reportedly looking to add a few more at some time in the not too distant future. Some folks mentioning UTSA as a potential school to look out for the Pac-12. Any intel on that? And would you be in favor of the Roadrunners moving to the new look Pac-12?
From what I've heard, is there's interest for sure. If there's been any direct contact, I think is still to be seen. If I had to guess, I'm sure there will be exploratory talks. Right, that's the popular term with these things. Whether UTSA would be interested if the money's right. I think that really what it comes down to. Unfortunately, as we know, as much as we love the regional aspect of college football, at the end of the day is who can make more money. And for a program like UTSA, who is still quote unquote young, they need as much money as possible, right, to ramp up their operation as much as they can. So if the Pac-12 can provide a bigger share of the pie for the Roadrunners, I think it's something that they would need to jump on. The American has been great these last 2 years. Just like Conference USA was great for the time that they were in it. But I think, there's some people that I've seen on social media that say, well, we got to grow into it. I don't think you can afford that. I don't think UTSA is in a position to pass up opportunities because they can get left behind, like we've seen with other programs, right? So I think if the money works, if they can, if there is conversations and that opportunity is presented, and if the money makes sense, I think it's something that they definitely need to look at.